Good morning, sunshine. This is a morning show based on your mental health, mental strength, and overall wellness. Good to have you here on the show today. I'm your host, Brandon Lee, alongside my good friend and colleague, Terri Pena.
And we so appreciate all of you joining us. We have a couple of incredible guests and some great conversations coming up. We're going to talk to Jason Law, who is the co-founder of Mental Health Center of America. And he's here in studio to talk about the need they are feeling in this space and how they are responding to really the post-pandemic, this crisis of mental health that we are seeing.
A huge need right now in our community.
Huge need. And also Terri Kaiser is here with us, and she's going to talk to us about Nidra yoga. And really this is focused on, well, many things, but one of them is sleep meditation and how to get a more restful night's sleep. And you're gonna
sign me up.
You're gonna test it out for us.
Sign me up. I'm willing to do the demonstration. Sign me up. Who doesn't want a good, solid night's sleep?
Right.
And what I'm curious to find out is I've never considered myself to be a meditator. So to see if something like what she's going to introduce us to will work on somebody like me, because not everyone's a very good meditator.
I just want to see if she can get you to stay still for a couple of minutes.
It's probably not going to happen. All right. What we love to do on Good Morning Sunshine, we love to talk about what's going down. And there was a really fascinating study about the impact that sports can have on a child. I grew up playing sports. Did you grow up playing sports?
I played tennis, I danced, and I was a cheerleader.
Okay, so you did a little bit of individual sports and you did group sports. I play tennis currently, but when I was younger, I did play team sports, mostly soccer. But there was a fascinating study about the impact it has on mental health.
Yeah, so they talked to 11,235 caregivers, parents, and they talked about the participants from age 9 to 13, and they were looking at how sports impacts your mental health, and they compared whether or not kids were in individual sports or team sports or no sport at all, and they found that the team sports had the most benefit to mental health. They found that actually individual sports was the most detrimental, even above not doing a sport at all. I guess it's the pressure.
Well, you think about it, gymnastics, when they're out there, it's an individual sport, right? You feel the weight of the pressure, the win and loss, it is on you. Tennis the same way. When you're out there on center court, it's just you. You don't have a coach.
Yeah.
You don't have anybody to run ideas by. So if things are going bad, you're feeling the weight of all that pressure. And I think that when a team sport, well, you're surrounded by a bunch of players, so we all share in the loss, or we all share in the win.
That's right.
You don't always have to carry the load.
It got me thinking about Simone Biles, right? Just what she went through, and just that was so excruciating to watch. But what a champion she was, how she stood in that moment and said, my mental health is suffering.
And I've got to give her a lot of credit. I believe she really spearheaded the public conversation about mental health that we've been seeing in this country. Because it happened at the Olympic Games, she had what they call the twisties. She lost herself. She lost herself up in the midair.
Yeah.
And that can be deadly for the tricks that she's trying to do. But she started the conversation in the middle of the Olympics. She got a lot of backlash. A lot of people looked at her as weak, but she didn't back down. And that moment of Simone Biles, I believe, started the conversation about mental health in America.
Yes. And now it's time for our story behind the story. We are really excited to have Jason Law, the co-founder of Mental Health Center of America, in studio with us. Jason, thank you so much for coming in to visit.
Thank you.
You have such an interesting story. You have an eclectic background. You were a firefighter, an entrepreneur. What brought you into the mental health space?
Yeah, a couple years ago, I think I reached a point in my life where I started to have some questions about my own mental health. I think up until that point, I had never thought about my mental health, maybe heard about it in, society, but for myself, I'd never reached a point where I needed to journey through that. A couple years ago, I reached that point where, I just didn't feel right. For me, it wasn't, anything major in the sense that, I needed to check myself in somewhere, but I definitely had some questions of, hey, I need to talk to a professional. And through that experience of looking for a professional and kind of guiding through my own mental health, started to have some ideas of how we can maybe innovate and create something for the mental health space in terms of a service that might be able to help people going through the similar experience I went through.
It's interesting. You mentioned that you were a firefighter. How long were you a firefighter for about?
7 years.
Okay, so I grew up in a family of firefighters, and there's a lot of trauma, believe it or not. Firefighters are the first to respond to a child drowning, and just responding to a child drowning really can cause detrimental mental health to the folks who are responding to those things. And I'm just curious, did that trauma build up over time? with your work in the department.
Every first responder does. Police officers, firefighters, you know, they're called to most people's worst moment of their life, and they're called as the person or persons to stabilize the situation. And with that comes a traumatic experience, and with that usually comes post-traumatic stress. And post-traumatic stress can be treated, but it also can be recognized typically by people that you're close to. But oftentimes, people are suffering from it and don't know where to turn, or they don't necessarily know what's happening. And for me, there was a lot of that happening. The post-traumatic stress, not just from the job, but from other life events.
Or even just afraid to ask for help.
Yes.
Totally.
So you identified it and you went beyond that. Seeing
I actually had a
obviously
friend, and I think that's where typically most, you know, for a lot of people, they have some friends around them that go, hey, you can go here, you can point here. I think that's part of what you guys are doing here with the story is not a lot of people know what resources are out there. So in my own journey, I didn't really know where to go, you know?
Well, oftentimes with police and fire departments, it's male driven. And so sometimes a guy saying that, hey, listen, I'm not doing well mentally, is a sign of weakness perception wise, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're finally changing and turning the page in the conversation about mental health is the vulnerability, is understanding that vulnerability is a strength and that we can and we need to reach out for help when those trauma and those crises are happening.
Totally. I think, you know, we're seeing with the younger generations, obviously mental health, that I would say there is no stigma with mental health. It's really, and now leading a mental health center, we don't see any stigma with the younger generation. It's the older generation. And to surprising to us, the older generation is actually the kind of growing generation that we really didn't see coming to our mental health center. We knew we would get young people because young people are vulnerable, they're open. I think they're more in touch with their emotions than the older generation, and that's a strength of the younger. But to that, we're surprised to see how many, you know, geriatric patient population we're getting that are struggling with grief from a loss of a loved one, depression, anxiety. These emotions have gone unnamed for years, and some of these, you know, are war veterans that have post-trauma stress from 30 years ago that are finally getting help because there's an easy, soft landing place to go and get help.
And post-pandemic, you know, the isolation. Talk about Mental Health Center of America and what you're doing different.
Well, for one, we are a place that encapsulates, I think, all the different types of providers within mental health under one roof. So a simple center with all the modalities that regard mental health. So psychiatric, psychology, counseling, neurofeedback, med management, biomed. I mean, the list, there's 10 to 12 different therapies and modalities within one center. So that in and of itself is pretty different in the sense of in mental health right now, you don't really see that in outpatient. What you see in outpatient is individual services. You can go here for your counseling, you can go here for your med management, your psychiatry, you go here for your cold plunge or your cryotherapy. You go to these different places. We've kind of brought all of that under one roof, under one doctor's provision, and there's a treatment plan that is kind of webbed out from there for each patient, contextualized to their needs with all the services kind of wrapped around them. That in an outpatient setting in and of itself is a huge challenge. I mean, to be able to accept insurance, bring all those providers, recruit all those different providers, get them under one roof. But to us, we're not doing anything different in that space than the medical space has been doing it. Or in my background as a fire medic, we triage situations, we packaged up patients, we stabilized them, we brought them to a higher level of care to a hospital, and they were part of a treatment plan there. In mental health, we just aren't seeing that as in the same vein, meaning you go here for your counseling, you're not meeting with a doctor, you go here for your med management, maybe you have a psychiatrist, but you're not usually under one treatment plan.
And I know Brandon has a question. I just wanted to ask you one follow-up. Are you seeing that this is helpful? Because I think what happens a lot of times is when you're going to different people, you may be hearing different things. And someone who's struggling with mental health, you're trying to get a clear sense of how do I get through this? How am I moving forward? And are you seeing that to be effective, that you guys are all on the same page? So you're saying, Brandon, this is what we see for you. These are what we're seeing as next best steps. Or Carrie, this is what we'd like to see you do. Talk about the efficacy there.
Correct, yeah. There's an enormous amount of anxiety in a patient that's trying to journey through their own mental health, right? So to be able to go to a place where they can instantly, we would say, be stabilized, similar to a medic on a scene, where You're in a safe place. You've got all the providers here that can help you. So that's almost step one of like, you're okay, you've come to the right place. It's almost akin to cancer 30 years ago. You went to your primary doctor, maybe he was sending you out to different places versus you go to a treatment center where it's all under one roof, right? So that first kind of stabilization is kind of step one. Then from there, you're gonna get a working diagnosis, you'll get a treatment plan, you get a team wrapped around you. Your ability then to kind of work on your own mental health, all of your energy goes to that versus trying to navigate the system, navigate billing, navigate insurances, et cetera. It's the way I think it should be, which is why we kind of created it that way.
Can you just leave our audience with a few final words about what it has done for you personally to go enter in this space, to be solving problems, and hopefully to be helping people get right for themselves?
I like the challenge, and I like that it's matched with the opportunity of, you know, maybe changing systematically how mental health is addressed, but also helping hopefully thousands of people. Hopefully we can create a model that can be duplicated in other states and that can help thousands and thousands of people. Personally, that's exciting to be a part of it. It's tiring, but you know, it's what's energizing when I can look down the road, hopefully, and see that we've built something and really created a place for really good providers to aggregate, and for the general community, all walks of life, who are saying, hey, I just don't feel right, all the way to, dude, I think I need to check myself in, but I don't know if I need to. Where do I go? You know, there aren't a lot of places right now. We want to create that place that people can start or finish or be at any point in their journey.
Jason, thank you so much. We really
Thank you,
appreciate you
guys.
coming on, and we'd love to have you back again.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, that leads perfectly into our next segment, which has to do with living a purpose-driven life. So we spoke with Sam Davis, who talked to us about really finding your purpose in your career and how that aligns with bringing joy to your life.
I really believe that you find your purpose within your passion, and again, passion it's not a driving force, but your purpose gets you out of bed in the morning. So we find all those things, find the pillars behind your purpose, and move forward with a business based around those pillars.
So how do you help someone find their purpose? If you can break it down really quickly, because this is why people come to you, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So ultimately it's finding what you enjoy first. What is it something, if your goal in life is to impact people, make a change in people's lives, it's really the people that I work with. People come to me to say, okay, I want to make an impact. I want to change lives, but where do I go from here? And then from there we dissect, okay, what do you love to do? What gets you out of bed in the morning? Or what is an activity that you do that you really enjoy doing, brings a lot of joy to your life, and you like talking about it, and you're almost an expert in that space because you enjoy it so much. And then from there, we kind of establish how you can build a business from there.
Oh, that's good. Okay. So, and I have to ask this because, I mean, we've all been through it. What happens when you are just too afraid to take that first step? I mean, that is the scariest part. Maybe we all know what we really want to do, but what do you say to people, and how can they get past that? I guess it's fear. Is that what you identify?
Yes, it is fear. There's a lot of limiting beliefs that come with diving into your purpose. And I always say the biggest thing that I like to communicate is, what do you have to lose by not jumping? So if you don't jump, you're living somebody else's life that you're not crazy about. You're doing a career maybe that is, you know, it's mundane, 9 to 5. You show up, you're not very happy, not fulfilled. At the end of your life, would you regret taking that leap? To live a fulfilled life, to live out your passion, to live out your purpose.
And to live for yourself.
To live for
right?
yourself.
Instead of what other people maybe
Yes.
think you should be doing.
And a lot of people think that you can't have a business around your purpose and passion, but the people that do take the leap and have the courage just to, even if it's just dipping your toes in the water, those are the people that when they start to explore their purpose, they don't want to do anything else, right? They leave their job immediately and they're like, I'm just going to make it work. I'm going to make it happen. And that's really the power of finding your purpose, at least dabbling in it.
Finding your purpose and your passion, that's something you talk about like
It's like
almost
a
every single
megaphone
day.
every day in the Center for Positive Media. No, just through my own lived experience, I truly believe that if you follow what you're passionate about, it could, not always will, but it could lead you to your life's purpose. I'm a huge believer in that.
It has for you.
It has
and
for
it
me.
has for me as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I
So
love
thank you so much to Sam Davis for sharing those words with us. And now we want to talk with Terri Kaiser, who is from Breathe AZ. And the focus here is yoga Nidra. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, explain to us what that type of yoga is.
Yoga Nidra is just a beautiful sleep-based meditation. It's so peaceful, but the most beautiful thing is that it's effortless and you can't do it wrong. It's just based on your own biological need to sleep, basically. But the amazing thing about it is that even though you are in deep, deep rest, your brain waves are still in alpha. They're still in that relaxed meditative state. You're still aware.
Is this something that can help us kind of slow those wheels down and get us into that deep sleep?
Yes, totally. So you can do Yoga Nidra at any time of the day. A lot of times it's really great, like if you just need a little nap during the day. It is said that 45 minutes of Yoga Nidra is worth 3 hours of restorative sleep. It's been scientifically shown that when people are doing Yoga Nidra, they are going deep down into a delta brainwave where your thought frequencies are just so minimal. And in that deep, deep state of rest, deep state of sleep, that's where all of your healing is done, your restoration, your rejuvenation, you're getting re-energized. And so a lot of us, when we don't get that deep rest, that deep sleep, or we don't cycle enough during the night because we aren't sleeping, Yoga Nidra can be so helpful to get you that rest.
Brandon's gonna.
Let's do it. So what am I
Brandon's
going to
gonna
do?
be the model
Yoga
for us.
mat. We got a nice little pillow. So this goes under my knees.
That
you said,
goes under
right?
your
Okay.
knees, and then you're going to put your head down. Now, normally you could have a small pillow underneath your head.
That's okay.
Having
I
darkness.
use an eye mask every night when I
Do
go to
you?
sleep. Yes.
There's something there's a sense of security when you're wearing an eye mask.
So if someone was going to try this out today, they would lay down similar to this, and then what do you do next?
So the traditional Yoga Nidra pose is like Shavasana. So your arms would be spread out a couple of inches away from your body with your palms face up, which is healing and receiving mode. And your legs are actually perfect, hip distance apart with your feet out. And then the guide would lead you through breath techniques, body awareness, visual journeys, and like I said, just systematically bring you down in brain waves until you are in that really deep, deep rest.
So for those of us who don't have you at our bedside at all times, is there an app that you can download that kind of guides you, a guided meditation, so I could sit there and do this on my own?
There are so many YouTubes that are amazing. One of my favorites, I'm not going to pronounce the name of her yoga studio right, so I'm just going to tell you that her name is Ali Boothroyd. And she has the most wonderful Yoga Nidras. Some are only 10 minutes long, and others are 2 to 3 hours for those of us who, have that insomnia and just really want to do something that is going to last long into the night. But the funny thing is once you're doing it, you probably won't even last 10 minutes.
Can you show us a little bit of the breathing and then how we would also look to combine with sound?
Sure. So the breath work is, at the beginning, what you would do is just focus on your natural breath. So you would notice, first of all, where you're breathing from. A lot of us breathe from our chest. Move your breath down into your belly so that your belly rises on the inhale and falls on the exhale. Not controlling the breath, not trying to do anything with it, but just your normal breath pattern. And then you'll notice the temperature of the breath, how it's cool as you breathe in through the nose and warm as you breathe out. And then maybe noticing the sound of the breath, sound of the inhale, sound of the exhale. Start to notice different sounds in the room, starting from far away and bringing it in close. And just that in itself really grounds you. It starts to bring you into that state of peace and relaxation. And although your mind might be active, because Yoga Nidra is really a fully guided practice for those of us that have monkey minds, it's really great because there's something to listen to, someone to guide you instead of being a self-guided practice. There's someone with you.
And then
whole
the
time.
sound elements that you brought with you?
So in my practice, I incorporate sound in the last 15 minutes when you're at your very deepest. And also that's when we would plant an intention as well, something that your heart desires, something to move you down a more peaceful path in your life. So it's really beautiful in that way. And your subconscious kind of picks up on it and remembers it. So we would just, I like using sound to help you release some of those energy blocks that are stuck within you. Helps to chip away so that you can move towards that more positive path in your life. And then I have a bowl here that a lot of my bowls are for the frequencies of the chakras, the energy centers in the body. And this one is a titanium bowl. Can I stand up? And so it works with all the chakras in the body. There's so many beautiful benefits to Yoga Nidra.
That was amazing, actually, that I could see your body actually really looked peaceful. And he does have what you, sorry, no offense, but you do have the monkey mind like she described.
I do.
He's
Day and
always on the
night.
run.
Yeah.
So this seems like such a helpful practice, and
It
I'm
is.
appreciative that you came and demonstrated, and folks who are fortunate enough to work alongside you at Breathe AZ can get more information. But I know you're
Yes.
also just interested in sharing the practice, and if people find a great YouTube video and can do this in the comfort of their own home, that's beautiful as well.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having
Thank you.
me today.
Thank
you.
you.
We appreciate you. You seem like you just went to the spa.
I'm
You're
good.
We're gonna just stay with us for the end of the show. We're gonna round things out now with our sunshine story. We always like to leave with a little bit of ray of sunshine, and this is really cool. This is the Google Glasses augmented reality. And the cool thing about this, and our producer Christina found this, and this is all about really helping people connect.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, being a journalist, we've been talking about these Google Glasses for decades. They were like very scientific back in the day. And now they're finally here. It's really cool because I think in one of the examples, it allows two people from different walks of life, from different language barriers. And language barriers is a whole thing. Like a lot of people won't even go to a country because of the simple language barrier. But if you're wearing Google Glasses and they're speaking in another language, those glasses are essentially translating in real time what they're saying to you. So how amazing is that you can go to another country, hopefully they're wearing Google Glasses too, so that you all can communicate back and forth.
Yeah.
But again, it's all about connection and connecting people from different walks of life. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Getting to know one another, getting to understand one another, and this is part of the bigger picture of healing, right? So we thank you all so much for joining us today for Good Morning Sunshine. I mean, this is just a show that we're very passionate about. It's all about mental health and healing.
That's right, and you're watching us on YouTube right now. So now that you're on YouTube, go down, subscribe to this YouTube channel. You'll notice there's a little bell notification. You're gonna click on that. It'll alert you every time we upload a new episode. We thank you so much for being here. I'm Brandon Lee with Carrie Pena. We'll see you back here for the next episode.
Take care, everyone.